I want to talk to you today directly and honestly. This is a strategic briefing for the leaders and policymakers who are right now shaping our technological future. We need to have a very real conversation about artificial intelligence.
You see, I believe the entire global AI conversation, from how we fund projects to the policies we write, it all starts from a single, profoundly false assumption. And if we don't correct this, we are building on a foundation of sand.
So what is this false assumption? It's this quiet belief that the whole world is ready for AI in the same way. The truth is, it isn't. And I'm not saying this from a theoretical standpoint. This comes from years on the ground, building systems where things like electricity and internet aren't guarantees. They're variables you have to plan for every single day.
And that brings us to the first major issue we have to tackle, what I call the universal readiness myth. Let's break down exactly why these impressive globally designed frameworks so often just fall apart when they hit local realities.
Here it is, side by side, the core of the problem. AI models born in tech hubs are designed in a kind of perfect bubble. They take for granted stable power, constant connectivity, and clean, structured data. But listen, for a huge part of the world, that's not reality. The reality is power that comes and goes, internet that drops, and data that is messy and all over the place. These aren't edge cases. For many, this is the normal operating environment.
So this begs the critical question, right? What really happens when a system built for that perfect bubble gets dropped into the real world? The answer isn't what you think. It's not some big explosive failure.
No, it's not a dramatic crash. The real danger, the way these systems actually fail, is through something far more subtle and, frankly, more dangerous. It's called quiet degradation. So what is quiet degradation? Think of it this way. The system doesn't just shut down. Instead, it slowly, quietly gets worse. It becomes less effective, less reliable, until one day you realize it's not actually delivering any value at all. It's a death by 1,000 cuts, all caused by the constant stress of its environment. We expect a big red warning light, an obvious crash that tells everyone something is broken. But the reality is this slow, unnoticed decline. And you want to know the most dangerous part? When the system finally does stop working, the blame doesn't go to the flawed design. It gets pointed at the local users or their lack of skills. The root cause is ignored.
Let me make this absolutely concrete for you. This doesn't just happen between different countries. You can see it inside a single nation. AI readiness isn't one size fits all. It's layered. We're often dealing with two completely different worlds in the same country. Just look at this comparison. On one side, you have an AI startup in a major city. They've got backup generators, high-speed fiber, and tech support on call. Now, compare that to a rural health center in that same country. They're dealing with a shaky power grid, unstable mobile data, and zero on-site support. Are these two places equally ready for the same AI solution? Of course not. To pretend they are isn't optimistic. It's just bad planning.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. Readiness is not an ideology. It's not about just wanting to be AI ready. Readiness is context. It is the raw, unvarnished truth of the operational environment on the ground. And if you ignore it, you will fail.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it demands a radical shift in how we think. We have to start treating these constraints not as annoying problems to fix later, but as core, non-negotiable inputs for our design process. We call this principle constraint-led design. It's about taking those local limitations, the unstable power, the low bandwidth, and making them requirement number one. They're not afterthoughts, they are the fundamental specs that have to shape the AI's architecture from the absolute beginning. This is a simple but incredibly profound shift. The old way, the way we've been doing things, is to design the perfect AI in a lab and then try to force the real world to change to accommodate it. The new way, the responsible way, is to start by analyzing the real environment and then design an AI that's built to be resilient and effective right there, in that reality.
And all of this brings us to a call for responsible design. It's time to move away from what I call borrowed ambition, this idea of just copying what works in a global tech hub, and toward building technology that actually serves a real local context.
I want every leader listening to this to remember this sentence. You cannot assess readiness using a borrowed lens. If your standards and your expectations were built for Silicon Valley, they are going to mislead you when you try to apply them to a rural clinic in Africa. It's that simple.
Now, let me be absolutely clear.
This is not an anti-AI message. This is not a call to slow down progress. This is a demand for honesty. Honesty in our planning, honesty in our policies, and honesty in our technical architecture. It's about building AI that actually works, where it is needed the most.
So, I will leave every policymaker, every leader, with one final question that should guide your entire strategy from here on out. Will you build AI that reflects a borrowed global ambition, or will you build AI that serves an actual, local reality? Your answer to that question will determine everything.